Hi, I'm Anurag Agrawal, and I'm glad to be a part of Della Leaders Club Indore chapter and a part of Global Happiness Committee of Della Leaders Club. I was born and brought up in a Banya Marwadi family with deep-rooted business traditions, and as they say, we had business injected into our veins. I would always listen to the transactions happening in the family and was always inspired into tradition of business and entrepreneurship. Somehow I got into a technical stream and completed BE mechanical after the sad demise of my father, stayed back in Indore to complete my management education and then joined my family business. My father was a visionary and he taught me not to be afraid of failures because they are the things that actually teach you. Well, everything kept rolling and we faced a lot of recession because we were into construction and infrastructure industry back in 2008, and we decided to put up a commercial project on our existing industrial land, for which I had to go to some government departments, namely collectorate and others, to get simple documents for my land. To my astonishment, I figured out that there is a lot of harassment in the government sectors because even the peon and the lower level clerks are not at all friendly and responsive. After an incident with a lower level clerk in the collectorate, I got to understand that there is a certain process for each and everything that you want to do into a legal department. And because I did not know the process, what would be happening to people who are practically illiterate? That was the time I realized that I am needed into the legal tech domain of this country. And hence, my startup Jawabdo came into initiation. I kept on conceptualizing about the things and talking about it to the people around me and figured out that there are many people who want to get into this kind of services. To begin with, it was really hard for me to persuade people to listen to me and follow the processes. But then, when I told them that they can actually get their jobs done without any bribes and without any bootlicking, people somehow believed me. I have some classic examples where people were asked lakhs of bribes for a service which does not require even 15 rupees. I advised them, they followed the advice, and they got their jobs done. This not only gave a lot of confidence to the people, it also motivated me big time. And I made a website to basically guide people through the processes of law. Things went by, but money didn't come. And with my experience, I reached the higher level of judiciary, that are the courts. And I was really shocked to realize that the situation there is even worse. There are more than 3.5 crore cases pending in the judiciary, right from the Supreme Court to the lower courts. And it takes nearly 6 years for the completion of one simple case in civil courts. It is always said that if you cannot get justice in the court of law, you will start searching justice out of the court. And it is very well said by the philosophers that justice delayed is justice denied. We started our work helping people through the court cases and started advising them through the correct things that are to be done. People are not even aware of what are their rights and what are their duties towards law. People always used to think that everything that is being committed is a crime to them, whereas most of them happen to fall into civil category. Housewives, children, men, they are being duped and cheated, but then they do not have a way to go out. To come to a conclusion, I realized that law only belongs to the people who have very good amount of money in their pocket, because the cost of justice in this country is really huge. People are just not aware of their legal rights and procedures that should happen in the court. Justice delayed is justice denied, and the cost of justice is too huge for a common man to bear. Then I started realizing that people need legal advices and legal counsels to contest their case, even without money. The concept which is known as a pro bono all across the globe. Pro bono is a concept wherein people do not have money upfront, They can only pay for their expenses or some minimum fees, and they may end up paying a success fees to the lawyer or to the forum who is contesting their case or who is actually fighting for their justice. The need of pro bono is as much as the need of a doctor while you have an uncurable disease. The only difference between a doctor and a lawyer is that one wears a black coat and the other wears a white. One is directly responsible for your life while you are in an operation theater, and the second affects your life adversely while he's standing in front of the judge representing you in your case. This concept of pro bonos really hit me hard, and I realized that a poor farmer or a poor middleman who is actually suffering on this cost of justice needs to have a proper legal representation for himself in the court of law. For the same things, I decided to get into pro bonos, and I started collecting the data of people who have actually lost the cases in the judiciary and could not contest it into the higher level of judiciary because of money. To my astonishment, around 70 to 80% of people who have lost their cases into the lower level of judiciaries could not contest it anywhere higher. And now I have decided to amplify my startup in the domain of pro bonos, wherein I would like to provide legal aid to the people at the minimum possible cost. I realized that people are not even aware of very basic things that are happening to them. A classic example can be termed as evergreening of loans done by so many banks in this country. Evergreening is a concept of giving a further loan to hide bad debts in the books of bank's account. I realized that when the moratorium was declared by the government of India in the COVID scenario, banks did not give any relief or relaxation in the overdue interest during that period. And after a complete guideline was given by the RBI, the banks decided to give a small loan of the period of interest. But then the loan were really pushed on the customer. Customer was just not aware of the loans given to them. Everyone who had a loan in the bank now has a separate liability of the loan account which they will have to pay. They are willing to do it or not. After getting a lot of examples of this manner, I decided to get into the core of it and realized that there are thousands of cases where people have been asked to pay this kind of money. They have been given a loan which they have never taken or they have never signed up for, which is actually a fraud if we see the guidelines of the RBI. And to add to the misery, we do not have a concept of class action lawsuits in our country. A class action lawsuit enables multiple victims to file a single suit against any organization and get a single judgment for so many victims. There are so many examples wherein this can be used. For example, we have seen a jump in the electricity bills during the COVID period, due to which thousands of people across the country suffered. There have been so many examples wherein people want to file a case, but because they have to file court cases separately and hire a lawyer separately, it becomes practically impossible for them to do that. To add to the irony, these cases, when they go into the court, the judge sitting on the table has a right to club these cases and then hear them simultaneously. The cost of filing, the agony of all these legal hassles prevents these people, these victims, to actually file a case into the judiciary. If the victims want justice, they need to file a court case separately. That incurs a lot more cost. Ironically, all these cases are taken up by the judge and are clubbed and then heard simultaneously. I believe that if something like a class action lawsuit is in place, then it would become a lot more easier for the victims to file a case and demand a single action against the injustice done to them. I would like to thank DLC to give me this platform wherein I could showcase my startup, and I would love to collaborate with like-minded people. Thank you.